Hello and very warm welcome to all of you from our London studios. I'm Dr. Sohail Qureshi, bringing you this weekly program called Sharp Edge, where I will ask in-depth and detailed and cutting-edge questions from the world political and social personalities. I am here today with Mrs. Zahra Baloch, who is the spokesperson of Pakistani Foreign Ministry, and she will be speaking with us very candidly on the questions on Kashmir and the forthcoming Pakistani Foreign Minister's visit to India. So, Mrs. Zahra Baloch is here, and I'm going to ask her a few questions. Indian subcontinent, that is a very strategic geography where about 2 billion people live between India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And unfortunately, there is a huge number of people living under the poverty line. There has been many wars and still ongoing issue about Kashmir. And I want to ask you if any further dialogue is being discussed between India and Pakistan in the last few months and since the new government has come in Pakistan.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. South Asia is a region with great potential, a huge population, but at the same time, it is one of the poorest regions in the world. It is important for peoples of this region and for countries in this region to have peace and dialogue. And unfortunately, there is at present no dialogue taking place because the biggest country in the region, our eastern neighbor, does not have the will to work as equals with its neighbors for peace and dialogue. It has adopted a belligerent attitude towards Pakistan. It has created conditions, especially in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as a result of which it has become very difficult to have normal relations between Pakistan and India. And unfortunately, as a result of this, there is no dialogue taking place. Our missions in each other countries are at half strength. We do not have ambassadors, and it is a sad situation because there is no dialogue and there is no prospect for a genuine, long-term, peaceful settlement, which we believe can only take place when there is a meaningful dialogue on the situation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the settlement of Kashmir dispute according to the UN Security Council resolutions.
We have seen the overseas Pakistanis and overseas Indians, they get on very well, and there's exchange of views. And we also have witnessed that when the Pakistani and Indian leadership, when they meet outside Pakistan, they are much more cordial. And we keep on wondering, why is this possible that despite the entire world trying to solve this issue, the two governments are unable to sit down in a peaceful manner and, as you say, in a meaningful manner? Is there something deeper between the two governments that is making this conflict even more flagrant, or it just there is no will between the two governments to bring the two states together?
Unfortunately, what we have seen is that at present there is a government in India that is extremist, fundamentalist government that believes in supremacy of India. It does not believe in equality of states. It has a belligerent attitude towards its neighbors, especially Pakistan. And in this situation, we believe it is very difficult to engage with India and to have meaningful dialogue.
We have seen recently there's been huge steps taken between the conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and at the end it was the diplomacy that won. And what we hear is that Iran and Saudi Arabia, they started trade again. Do you think there's any possibility of trade between India and Pakistan anytime soon?
If you recall, in 2019, it was India that cancelled Pakistan's MFN status and imposed 200% duties on Pakistan's exports to India. And India has taken certain steps in 2019, including the illegal unilateral steps in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, because of which there is no room for a dialogue and for trade talks. And that is the unfortunate situation that we are dealing with right now.
We have recently heard that the former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has allegedly stated that it was the former Chief of Army Staff, General Bajwa, had promised President Modi, Prime Minister Modi, I apologize, to visit Pakistan. And I was wondering, is there any reality in this news?
I think such reports are based on speculation, and I don't want to indulge in that.
We have seen that the human rights violation in Kashmir that has been witnessed by the Human Rights Watch and the other human rights organization in the world and India who have showed great distress and alarm. We were wondering whether any formal plea has been taken by the Pakistani government in the United Nations in this regards.
Yes, Pakistan has been the dire situation of human rights in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the repression of the people of Jammu and Kashmir at the hands of the Indian occupation forces in contravention of the United Nations Security Council resolutions and of the Geneva Conventions. And this is something that Pakistan has raised at the UN General Assembly. We have raised it at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and we have raised it at the last session of the UN Human Rights Council. And Pakistan's position, Pakistan's voice is very forceful as far as Kashmiri rights are concerned. And the Organization of Islamic Cooperation reinforces our message when we speak at these international fora, including at the UN Human Rights Council.
It is quite concerning that despite a number of international agencies talking about human rights issues and all that, not much has been done. Recently, we heard some news from from America and also by the European Union making some statements to start the dialogue between India and Pakistan. So do you think that any third party government or any other group would be able to kind of mediate between the two governments?
Welcome to international players, especially friendly countries, to play a role for peace and dialogue in South Asia, especially between Pakistan and India, and even more importantly, on the dispute between Pakistan and India on the Jammu and Kashmir issue. And we hope that the Indian authorities would also welcome such offers of mediation, and we hope that they would realize the folly of their actions, and we would be moving towards an era of peace and prosperity for our region as the situation in Jammu and Kashmir becomes normal and human rights violations in IIOJK come to an end, and the people of Kashmir are able to exercise their right to self-determination as guaranteed to them by the UN Security Council resolutions.
Mrs. Baloch, thank you for your answer. And following on from that, I know that this is SCO meeting, it's a multilateral meeting, but do you think there can be any meeting possible between the Pakistani and Indian foreign minister, or at least at the foreign office level in this visit of Mr. Bilawal Bhutto to India?
Thank you so much. Actually, as I said earlier, this visit is taking place in the SCO context, so no bilateral meetings are planned between Pakistan and India. We have not made any requests, and we do not intend to arrange any meetings with the Indian officials or with the Indian foreign minister.
Usually the backdoor meeting, they are not publicized, and I can understand that there can be a certain sensitivities. But do you think that there can be a breakthrough soon between India and Pakistan in at least starting a dialogue?
We hope that any breakthrough is possible if India decides to go back to 4th of August 2019 conditions, after which it instituted certain mechanisms, certain measures in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir that has completely vitiated the atmosphere for peace and dialogue between Pakistan and India, because of which we are in the stalemate that we are in, and there is at this stage no foreseen dialogue or breakthrough between the two countries.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Baloch, with your candid and very straightforward answers. I really appreciate. I have just one last question. On this next trip of Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto, is any meeting arranged with the Kashmiri leadership?
As I said earlier, this visit is taking place in the context of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This is a multilateral forum where he will be attending the meetings and the various sessions of the CFM, the Conference of Foreign Ministers, and he will be meeting his counterparts from Central Asia and other leaders who will be attending this meeting.
So thank you very much, Mrs. Zahra Baloch, for a very, very straightforward and candid question. And I can see that there were some difficulty in our communication, but I'm glad that you were able to give good answers to our question that are really haunting the overseas Pakistanis and the rest of the world. India and Pakistan are close rivals, next door neighbors, and have a long-term history of existing with close to each other. We are, especially as overseas Pakistanis, are very concerned that the burning issue of Kashmir, where there are number of hostilities and violence going on, that has been the thorn by the side in the two countries' relationship, and we are unable to resolve it despite 75 years of very hard-hitting wars and also the dialogue that we had several times within the United Nations and outside. For the last 3-4 years, there has been absolutely no dialogue between the two countries, which means that the plight of the Kashmiri people continues. We have asked the questions directly from the Foreign Minister spokesperson of Pakistani government, Mrs. Zahra Baloch, and to understand if there can be a break into this very cold situation of diplomacy and dialogue between the two countries after the visit which is planned by the Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto. I'm not sure how much we got there, but it appears that the ice is melting and there is a possibility that there can be a breakthrough, and we can see the two governments sitting together, bringing some kind of a sense and to normalcy to the region, so that both countries, instead of warring, can go into the path of the peace. Thank you very much for watching our program, and until next, goodbye.